I wanted to talk about a bit about Dendro reactions that it's gonna have and stuff. At least what is known right now, reliably. You have burning, which is the usual. Like we have descriptions right here. Burning, which we already knew, which is just burning for 2 seconds. When you trigger a reaction with Hydro and Dendro, you create these little things, sort of like seeds that are on the ground, right? And when you hit those things, when you hit them with Pyro, they explode and deal area damage. But this is not the reaction it has with Dendro. It's not Pyro and Dendro. This is Pyro and the Dendro cores, which were generated by Bloom, which is Dendro and Hydro. So you do Dendro and Hydro to create the cores, and after that, if you apply Pyro to the core, they explode and deal area damage with Pyro. You can check this video. We got Dendro. Well, can't really see right here, but was it 24k Dendro damage or 2.4? No, it was 24k Dendro damage. Interesting. And it seems that if that is Traveler's ult, it seems pretty powerful because it's an area of effect where it applies Dendro. See? You have this, it's the ult. The E seems like it's gonna be, I don't know, some sort of projectile, 3 projectiles that you launch. And then you have your ult, which seems like an area where you deal Dendro damage, which is gonna be pretty good for a Traveler. Oh, the area is even larger. What the f? That was not the complete area. So, you can look. Ayato's area is pretty large. I think it's larger than Ganyu's. And as you can see, when she ults, when Lumine ults, I don't know what it did, but originally it had this range, and then it stopped, and then it did something, and the range increased. Maybe because it reacted with Hydro, the range increased. You can see the range is now outside of the range of Ayato, which is quite a big range already. So that might be interesting if you for applying Dendro. Maybe we can have a Traveler that is actually good, like Dendro. Yeah, you can see it goes all the way around the Ayato ult. Or maybe there are more cores that are doing that, I don't know. But as you can see, well, you can really see much, but basically you're creating Dendro with each, you're creating cores with each Hydro plus Dendro reaction. And after that, you're applying Pyro to them and they're exploding. And then you have Hyperbloom, which is with Electro. When you have the Dendro core, which is the one created by Bloom, and you apply Electro to it, you create this sort of projectiles that chase people. Let me show you here. So you apply Hydro, you have ult to put them together. Then you have ult of Lisa to apply constantly. Is there no better? No, there's no better quality. Then you have ult, right? You have Dendro. You can see all these things that are coming around. You can see all the projectiles that are going into them and are trying to following them. They come from the ground. Those projectiles, for example. I believe that is the Hyperbloom reaction, which chases enemies. I believe, yeah, you can see they constantly start activating and they just keep going towards the enemy. It seems pretty interesting. Okay, he ults again. He does the same thing again. And I think you can see it less now, because he's ulting and doing all sorts of stuff. You can still see some projectiles, like right there, for example. You can see this projectile they're coming on. They seem to be not dealing that much damage though. They are dealing, oh no, they deal 3,000, I think that was, no, 8,000 I think it was for the reaction, maybe. Oh, they might be interesting then, with Electro, an Electro character that constantly creates those. And they're not, they don't just create one, they create like 3, for example. It seems like it generates just one, but it hits and it deals 8,428 2 times. So it's not just hitting once. Maybe it deals in area damage, or maybe it creates several projectiles. I believe it's several projectiles. When you have the Dendro cores, you can either apply Pyro to them to make an explosion, or you can apply Electro to them, and you can create these projectiles that seek enemies. I think the projectiles might be very interesting. I think both of them are pretty interesting, actually. If you have crowd control and you can keep them together, they seem pretty interesting. Otherwise, well, the chasing, the humming projectiles are obviously going to be better because you can just activate them anywhere and they're just gonna follow enemies. Then you have Catalyze, which is when Electro and Dendro meet, right? Catalyze will occur, which makes the enemies quickened. This is not making you quicken, this is the enemies. This making the enemies quicken. They get the effect quicken it, right? At first landing, it doesn't seem to do anything if you don't do anything else. If you use Catalyze on them, they will quicken, they will get quickened. However, you have two additional things, which is Aggravate and then a Spread. Aggravate triggers when, if you hit a quickened enemy, so if you make the original reaction with Electro and Dendro on someone, they get quickened, and then you hit them with Electro, you get Aggravate, activates it. So basically you're making a multiplier. You're adding damage, sort of like Vaporize or Melt, but for Electro, which we didn't have before. So you're adding a damage multiplier to the attack that is triggering this reaction. And then you got Dendro. Let's apply Dendro. Right, so he has Dendro now. He has been quickened now, an Aggravate trigger as well, as you can see. It's a reaction, so it has a cooldown. 830. You see the multiplier. The multiplier is dealing. She normally deals 35 damage. And with the Aggravate multiplier, or well, it's not a multiplier, it's actually flat damage, but it's based on a multiplier with coefficients and different stuff. It deals 830. She was dealing 30, now she's dealing 130 when they're quickened, when she procs Aggravate. It's obviously not as good as Vaporize or Melt. I'll show you the details later. And then you have Spread, which I believe is the same thing, but yeah, I don't think, yeah, they're not gonna show a Spread. I think it's the same thing, but with a different multiplier. It's instead of applying Electro once they're quickened, you just apply Dendro once they're quickened. And the multiplier is different. And they have this tweet here, which I have open right here, right? The reaction is called Catalyze. And once you apply the reaction to the enemy, they get quickened, right? What is the damage formula? Spread or Aggravate? Grant flat damage equals to the level multiplier, reaction coefficient 1 plus 5 times elemental mastery divided by elemental mastery plus 1200, right? Which is a shitload of stuff, but I have something prepared for that. The reaction coefficients, which is one of the things that matters for us, is 1.5 for a Spread. So if you are applying the damage that is applying, that is creating the reaction, is Dendro, you get 1.5 multiply, 1.25 multiplier. And if you get Aggravate, the multiplier is 1.15. This is much less than Melt and Vaporize, for example, because Vaporize when triggered by Pyro is 1.5 and Melt when triggered by Pyro is 2. So it's much less. But this is being added to Electro, which has none of that. They just have Transformative, which is Electro Charge, and Overloadable deal damage based on Elemental Master. I made an Excel here, a real quick Excel. And you can see here you have the damage multipliers based on the level. The level multiplier is not the level itself, but an amount of damage you get when you're that level. So for example, at 0 you get 0, obviously. At 10 you get a certain amount, 20 you get a certain amount. The ones we know for sure are at level 80 you get 1077, and at level 90 you get 1447 damage. So I plug those in here. You got level 90, 1447, and level 80, 1077. The coefficients for a Spread, you get 1.25. The coefficient for Aggravate, you get 115, and the Elemental Mastery. And you can see, technically speaking, basically this is the damage. This is what my theoretical damage would be, the one that would be added when you deal damage to enemies that have been quickened with Electro. It would be Aggravate. You would gain this amount of flat damage, technically speaking, with 0 Elemental Mastery. Obviously, if you increase this amount, it would be greater. It would be a greater scale in damage. This is not taken in consideration the elemental resistance that the enemy has, the defense, which is also gonna lower the damage that they're gonna take, which is probably why, let's say, half of that damage, let's say 130, which would be with, I don't know how much elemental mastery she had, but you can see it's half of the damage, around half of the damage that I was calculating. Let's say based on defense and electro resistances, right? I believe that this is the correct output based on that formula, but we just not taking in consideration defense and elemental resistances. We also got to take in consideration this damage may crit. So we finally have something like vaporize and melt for Electro. Finally gonna have something like that for Electro characters, which their reactions was just fucking stupid, man. But yeah, my rant is over. Thank you very much. And remember, this was all done live on Twitch, so if you want to catch the next stream, just remember to drop by on twitch.tv/polariums. I'm also gonna leave a link in the description. And that's pretty much all for me. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video.